You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Welcome to the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast with me, your host, Sam Albuquerque, exclusively on the Knightline Sports Network. You can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at SamBAlbuquerque, on Instagram too, same at. If you want to get in touch with the show, go ahead and send me an email at sam.b.albuquerque@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. 5 stars are always appreciated. Today on the show, we're going to try something different. And not because I didn't book a guest or anything. I definitely prepared adequately for this. So we're just going to do ramblings. Okay, so you guys know I've mentioned it a couple times here that I am currently starting my master's, and this was the first full week of that. And it's hard, dude. It's hard. I was able to watch a lot of the games on Sunday, and I was able to watch a lot of the basketball games. So I have thoughts and stuff, but it's been the easier stuff has been harder to do. Like, obviously, watching the games and getting ideas of things that are interesting are still stuff that I prioritize that I'm making sure are happening. But like the booking of guests are a lot more difficult because I usually am coming up with the guest idea the day of the podcast, and a lot of times people can't do it. We're a little later than usual this week. Some personal stuff came up, so I couldn't do it on Thursday night to drop it on Friday. So I'm recording it on Friday around right now it's 5 p.m. Eastern time. So that's why it's a little later than usual. So just, give me this one. All right. Cool. But like I said, today on the show, we're going to do some ramblings. I'm just going to ramble for a while. I have some thoughts of a lot of stuff that I've noticed recently with the NBA, a little bit of football. I'll give you my updated week by week MVP power ranking, which I guess is probably the best way to say it. I've been calling it something different every time, but that feels like the best way to actually label it, MVP power rankings, right? I don't know. So I'll do that, and it's going to be a shorter pod, maybe half an hour. I'm not sure, I haven't recorded yet. I usually do this part after I record, so I know how to tease, but this time I didn't record before the tease. So it'll be a surprise for all of us. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let's do it, let's do some rambles. But first,
so if you just take a left at Albuquerque, you'll get where you need to go.
Say, I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Here's your host, Sam Albuquerque.
All right, Sam's Ramblings Edition 1. This might be terrible. I might end up hating every single moment of this. I have done solo Sam stuff. Obviously, you guys have been a part of it. I have done some rambling stuff, but I kind of haven't done just rambling stuff. And so I'm going to just go through some thoughts I've had, watching the NBA playoffs, watching the NFL, early season, a little bit on college football, touch on UCF at the end there for my fellow Knights. I do have some early thoughts and some fears, some things that a lot of Knights fans don't want to hear, but will definitely be kind of sucky because I think it'll happen. I think this specific thing I'm teasing right now that I'll wait until the very end of the podcast to touch on is going to suck for UCF fans, but who knows? But first up is the NBA. Are the NBA? Is the NBA? I don't know. I'm learning a lot of grammar stuff with my master's program right now. It's in journalism, so we have to, know how to words. So I'm still trying to. It's so fresh in like top of my mind to like look at things grammatically, and it's super annoying. Anyway, so the NBA top of mind because they is maybe, I don't know what the NBA grammatically is. Is it a subject? I think. I don't know. Anyway, they are top of mind, and the NBA playoffs are happening right now. And the first thought I had on the NBA was it feels like the opposite thing is happening in both series. So in the West, I think one thing is happening. In the East, the opposite thing is happening. And that is that the better team is winning, and regardless of coaching or tactics, that team is winning in one side because they're better. They have more talent. And then when you look at the other side, I would argue that one of the teams is better, But the coaching and the tactics have been the reason why that team is up right at this moment, 3-1, both of them. So I look at the West, and I think the Lakers are just a better team than the Nuggets. I don't think they're being outcoached. I don't think they're being outmatched tactically. I just think they don't have an answer for Anthony Davis. And I don't think that's Mike Malone's fault, and I don't think Frank Vogel particularly deserves more credit than he's getting. I did give him some love on Twitter the other day talking about that last Anthony Davis three-point shot play. Obviously, they brought Rondo into the game. They had what looked like a screen initially, but just turned out to be terrible defense by whatever Plumlee brother plays for Denver. Miles, Mason, Max, Madam. They have a lot of. They all start with M. They all are white and aren't very good at basketball. I don't know which one. I want to say it's Miles. I think Miles Plumlee plays for the Nuggets. I don't know though that for sure because they all they don't really look alike, but they all just blend together for me in just a tub of vanilla whiteness. Anyway, regardless of what happened in the series so far, I think it just comes down to the fact that LeBron and AD are better than Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. I don't think there's really anything either of the coaches can do to change that, or at least they haven't yet, and that's why we're at this specific outcome. But in the East, it feels like the opposite is happening. I would argue that the Celtics are a better basketball team with better players than the Miami Heat. But Spo has outmatched Brad Stevens, specifically with the installation of the zone defense that they're doing. It's really been the key that shifted the series in Miami's, to put the series in Miami's hands. I'm going to get accused again of bashing on Brad Stevens. It's not that I think Brad Stevens is a bad coach. I don't. I just think Eric Spoelstra is a better coach, a very good coach, a very underrated coach. Eric Spoelstra is. I think he might be a top 5 NBA coach. I think right now the conversation around the best coaches in the NBA are Greg Popovich, obviously, who's a legend. Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors has been very good. Some people would question the fact that his team is insane. That's why he was as good as he was, or is. I don't know. Grammar again. I'm still freaking grammar. I hate it. I hate grammar. I hate learning about grammar. I hate parts of speech. I hate all of it. Steve Kerr is one of them. Obviously, Nick Nurse has gotten a lot of pub, especially by me. I'm a huge Nick Nurse guy. But I think Eric Spoelstra is right there, and there's a legitimate conversation around him being the best of those coaches. If he wins a title with this squad, who, looking at some of the historical teams that have won titles, that this might be one of the not greatest. Like, Jimmy Butler isn't an arguably top 10 NBA player. Like, you can argue that Jimmy Butler isn't there. You can argue that they don't have another top 15 guy on this roster. Bam's great. I love Bam. I am in love with Bam Adebayo. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. But I wouldn't categorize him as a top 15 player. Maybe it's borderline top 20. I'd have to create a list. I always do this where I start throwing names into top 10 lists without actually knowing where they land and not having maybe I'll do that one time and I'll just list off, just write it down and just have a handy dandy list and adjust accordingly based on what I see with my eyes. Anyway, if the Heat get to the NBA Finals, if the Heat win the NBA Finals with this roster, you have to start talking about Eric Spoelstra as the best coach in the NBA, because if you look at the Spurs, right? They're probably the team you can point to that had the worst talent who won the NBA title, but not really, because Tim Duncan, obviously Hall of Famer, Kawhi Leonard, one of the best two-way players in the NBA, Manu and Tony. So is that even accurate? Like, I can't think. I guess the Dallas Mavericks team, with Dirk and Tyson Chandler, I think that's the sort of coach, or the sort of talent that Eric Spoelstra has to coach. Rick Carlisle obviously gets a lot of love. I love Rick Carlisle. He's one of my favorite coaches as well. I just think Eric Spoelstra might be one tier higher than we think, and really legitimately in the conversation about being the best basketball coach in the NBA. And we always look at his two titles with the Heat as LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris Bosh, but he really had to manage those egos. And now at this point of his career, he's not only managing egos really well. We know that he can do that because he had to do it with the Heatles, but he's also tactically and schematically and just game plan wise creating instances in which he's forcing the other team to do stuff they don't want to do. And right now, that zone that he has going is the perfect example of that. I just really like Spo, and I think it's funny to look at both of these contrasting storylines, I guess, in both series that are both at this point right now 3-1. Again, Friday 5:15 now is when I'm recording, so don't hold that against me if it changes. I think there's a basketball game tonight. I don't actually know. I have church, so I'm gonna do that after here, and not watch basketball tonight. Maybe I'll rewatch it. Yeah, the Celtics play tonight at 8:30, so we'll see if that series changes. So again, asterisks if it changes. Either way, moving on. A couple more thoughts, especially on the Heat. And I mentioned this last week with Kevin. The Heat are still, to me, the scariest team as a Laker fan. And it's funny because I think they have the worst star player. Like, I'd rather have LeBron. I'd rather have Nikola Jokic. I'd rather have Jason Tatum than Jimmy Butler. And that's a little interesting because Jimmy feels like he's not the worst star on the team. Like, he's definitely not the worst star in the NBA. I mean, that's clear. This team is very good right now, but it's just funny to think that they have the worst star, but I'm most scared of them, of the 4 teams that are left. Obviously, I'm less scared of the Nuggets because the Lakers are currently up 3-1, so it's hard to be scared of a team. Maybe I should be terrified of the Nuggets because they win elimination games. They won what? Now it's 6 elimination games in a row. So maybe they're just going to come back and win in 7. Who knows? But I'm not scared of them. I'm not scared of Jokic. I'm not scared of Murray. I'm not scared of Mike Malone. And then I look at Boston, and yeah, Tatum scares me a little. And I like Tatum a lot as a player, and I'll talk about Tatum in a little bit because I have some thoughts on him that I really enjoyed. Watching him play, not the thoughts. I guess I might have enjoyed the thoughts as well, but Tatum I enjoyed watching a lot, so I have some thoughts on him and sort of my expectations about him as a player. But going back to the Heat here, Tatum scares me more than Butler. I think Brad Stevens scares me to an adequate amount. Like, I think he's a good coach. Yeah, I still would rather play Boston than Miami, though. Even though they have the worst star, they have the better player, or the better. No, I'm sorry, not the better player. They have the better coach, and they're the toughest team in the NBA. They really are. Like, those guys will punch you in the mouth. Like, maybe not literally, but like they just don't. They don't say never. Like they don't die. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Like, they keep fighting, and I think they're the toughest team in the NBA right now, and obviously toughest team left out of the 4. But there's that mental edge that these guys have, and there's a couple of guys here who have won titles. So I'm terrified of them. The zone scheme is going to force the Lakers to do something they haven't been able to do consistently all season. Shoot the 3-ball well. Like, we haven't. Like, zone defense is beat by good 3-point shooting, and we have not been able to shoot the 3-ball well. And our best players are not 3-point shooters. Our best players are ball handlers, mid-rangers, and attacking the basket guys. Like, I get it. Anthony Davis can hit a 3, and so could LeBron, but that's not their game. That's not what they're best at. And Danny Green and KCP and those guys have been brought in to do that. I mean, KCP and obviously other people have been around, but KCP hasn't been as consistent as you want him to be shooting the 3-ball. Danny Green, who I was enamored with in the offseason, somebody I really wanted the Lakers to bring in to add that shooting depth, hasn't been able to do it. Hasn't been able to stretch the floor as effectively as he did last season with the I was going to say the Nuggets, but the Raptors is what I meant to say. So the zone defense really scares me. I think it might be an issue. The zone defenses clog lanes, and we're a team that lives off taking advantage of our ability to get into the lane. So if they try to stop our strength and they're able to limit that, it's going to be scary to see them. Also, another reason, and again, I mentioned it last week, and I'm going to mention it again because I watched more and more of this guy, and Bam is the best defensive matchup to stop AD. There's not another guy in the NBA, especially I haven't really been thinking of the broad scheme of the NBA, but right now in the playoffs, that I'd rather have to play defense on Anthony Davis. He's equally as quick, he's equally as strong. He's probably a little shorter, but like not by that much. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism, and he's good. He's one of the best defenders at that sort of hybrid 4-5 position. And that scares me because if we can't shoot threes and we can't get AD going because Bam's stopping him, with LeBron, like LeBron's the only option. Like it's one of the best options, if not the best option to have, but it's one option. What are we gonna? Kuz is gonna go off. We're gonna rely on playoff Rondo again. Like I love playoff Rondo. He's been balling, but can we really carry a team in the finals if playoff Rondo and LeBron are the only two matchups that we feel good about? And like I mentioned before, Spo is the best coach left in the playoffs. Like I mentioned, he might be the best coach in the NBA, but he's definitely better than Frank Vogel. I can guarantee you that. And I like Vogel. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good guy. I've seen it up close and personal here in Orlando. Vogel's not better than Spo, and that scares me. So they have a defender that can stop our second best player. Their defensive scheme is one that suits them to stopping our biggest strength. Their coach is arguably the best coach in the NBA, and they're the toughest team I see left. Like, just physically tough and mentally tough. They're scary right now. And I obviously they're up 3-1 at the moment, but I wouldn't mind seeing the Celtics. That's for damn sure. I'd rather play the Celtics than play the Heat right now. Speaking of teams that the Lakers are playing or might play, the Nuggets. I have gotten very defensive about how I view the Nuggets and telling people that I don't think they're real. I respect the Nuggets so much more now than I did before. And that's mainly due to my views on Nikola Jokic, right? I love the big guy who can pass out of the high post or the mid post and offenses that run through them, and especially in second units and stuff like that. It's fun to watch because I kind of was that player. Like, I'm not saying that, obviously I'm not Nikola Jokic. I'm talking about rec league ball. I used to play at the Jewish Community Center, which is ridiculous because I'm not Jewish. But they had good hoops teams, man. Like, a lot of the players that were around there, like, I had a really good coach, actually. I like playing there. I played there only one season, so it's not that big of a deal. Other plays, like, everywhere I played, that's sort of my role because I'm a bigger dude, but I'm not athletic enough. But I like playing with the ball in my hands, but I'm not athletic enough to play point guard, but I'm also not, really trying to bang in the post right now. So, like, coaches would always use me in the high post. I would get the ball, and I would make passes similar to Jokic. And again, not saying I'm Jokic. I know I'm not Jokic. Like, I'm 5'11". Jokic is 7 foot tall and an NBA player. So even if I was 7 foot tall, I don't think, even though I've had this argument with people, if I was 7 feet tall, I think I would be a professional basketball player. I don't know if I would be in the NBA. I'm not saying I would be Nikola Jokic because that's not fair to say. But I do think I would be a professional basketball player. And people think I'm stupid for saying that, but that's how I feel. Either way, I get Jokic now. And the thing that really clicked was the thought of Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk threw up these shots that looked like they were prayers, I guess is a way to say it. But I always thought that Dirk was going to hit that shot, and I didn't, even though they looked like he was forcing it and he was just trying to throw up something because the shot clock was going down. That was on purpose. Like, he was taking those shots to make them, not to get it out of his hands to get an attempt. And I sort of always thought that Jokic was doing. I always gave Dirk the credit that I'm not giving Jokic, I guess is the best way to say that. Is when Jokic throws the ball behind his head and just chucks it up, I would always assume like he was just heaving it because the defense was in his face and he couldn't create space, and the shot clock was winding out. And I always thought those shots were lucky. I always viewed those shots, the perception of those shots to me were that he was, when they went in, is that he was lucky for them to fall and that they were bad shots. He's not lucky. Those aren't bad shots. Those are on purpose. And the more and more I've watched him, especially in moments when he's forcing those shots, and I think it's just because I watched maybe like four Nuggets games in a row, and before I would watch a Nuggets game sporadically throughout the season or throughout the playoffs because I wouldn't be as locked in because they weren't playing the Lakers, I would have always assumed those 2 or 3 shots he would throw up a game where that one of them went in, it was luck. But now I've seen it 4 games in a row. It's not luck. That's what this guy does. That's his shot in that moment. That's how he creates space. He creates vertical space by throwing it behind his head and chucking it above the defender because he's 7 feet tall. And that's sort of the reason that the Nuggets click to me as a better team. I think they're still in that second tier in the West. As crazy as it sounds, and maybe not it's crazy because I think a lot of people probably feel this way too. The Clippers to me are still the better basketball team, and the team that I think is more talented than the Nuggets. I would put them in the first tier. It'd be the Clippers and the Lakers, but I think the Nuggets are right there at the top of the second tier. Before I would put them closer to the bottom of the second tier, maybe even the third tier with teams like Oklahoma City. I thought the Rockets would destroy this Nuggets team, but it's starting to click with me, Jokic, because my complaint about Jokic has always been my perceived thought that he had an inability to create his own shot, and that you need that to win games. And it's cool if you just want to run it through the high post and he can pass out of that, and every now and then he'll have a pick and roll, pick and pop, and he'll be an interesting player to play as a point center kind of thing. Like, that was interesting, but I never thought it would translate into when you need a bucket. And I still have questions about his mobility being a factor against a net positive defender in clutch moments. Like, when his team needs a bucket, I'm still not sure he can always do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not 100% confident that he can do that. He's a little higher on the list now of guys that I would take in that situation. Before I would be honest in telling you that he probably wasn't on that list at all. Now he's on that list and he's relatively high, but I still have questions about the fact that he can't create space off the dribble or with other than like 1,000 fakes in the post, which is awesome, by the way. I love watching how many times he pump fakes in the post and shifts his weight in different feet and stuff. He's a baller. I still have those questions, which is probably why they're in that second tier as opposed to being in the first tier. And the other factor about the Nuggets too is I've gained a lot of respect for Jamal Murray. I thought he was one of these guys who could get you a bucket, but like not consistently. If he can be this sort of guy, obviously I'm not saying that he's going to score 50 points or 40 points every game, but he has the ability to do that. And I never really questioned that. I always thought he kind of could get a bucket. Like, he was a bucket. But my mind is shifting toward that if this guy can do this in the fourth quarter consistently, this team can be a contender. Like, I still think both Jokic and Murray are on the cusp of being in that first tier, that sort of respectful, I really think you're going to win a title this year, and I think like a decent number of people agree with that. They're not there yet, but they're right there on the cusp, and I think they're one step away from Jokic and Murray. I guess they're one. I don't know how to say that. Like, Murray, if Murray and Jokic take one step forward, then they're in that tier. They're in that conversation. If Murray can be consistent and give you 23 a night every single night, and then blow up every now and then, when his bad games are 18, 19 instead of 10, 11, that's when I think he takes a step forward. And with Jokic, I don't think it's possible for him to take an even step forward, and even another step forward anyway. I don't think it's possible for Jokic to take another step forward. I don't see him getting in that sort of shape where he can, enhance his lateral movement enough to create more space and to increase his mobility. So it really kind of falls on Murray. And I still kind of stand by my thought process of if Jokic is your best player, is your closing sort of player, you probably won't win a title. I think I've shifted from you definitely won't win a title to you probably won't. But he's still really great. And right now he's probably a top 10 player, and I haven't been the type of guy to say that for a long time. So I respect this Nuggets team a lot more. I teased the Jason Tatum stuff. I love Tatum. I really liked him coming out of Duke. I wouldn't lie to you and say that I said I thought he would be the number one, or that I thought he should be the number one overall pick. That's not necessarily true, but I did like him. My thing with college prospects, I always ask, can they shoot? And I always thought he had a solid jumper. Like, it's, the numbers bear it out, but also like it just looks smooth. I like the way he shoots, so I always kind of liked Tatum. I really wanted Lonzo Ball for the Lakers, so at the time I didn't feel bad about that. But I did really like Tatum. He has some stuff that I think he still needs to iron out of his game, but I've been really pleasantly surprised by his explosion, especially in transition. Like, he gets up, dude. Like, he really bursts off the floor, and when he goes to dunk in a transition sort of vibe. And I think he's really smooth in his movements when he has the ball in his hands. I think the main things I would point out is something that I think a lot of people who who analyze Jason Tatum's game will say the same stuff. So I feel repetitive, and I don't want to dive too much into this. I mainly just wanted to explain the fact that I love him, and I think he's a great player. He's going to be one of the most impactful players, I think, in the NBA for the next decade. But obviously, I think he needs to attack the rim more, and that's really cliche to say, but it really comes down to that. Like, once I saw the amount of bounce he can get in transition, it's made me realize how physically gifted he is, and he's not taking advantage of it enough. I always view Jaylen Brown as the superior athlete. I'm starting to shift my mindset. I really do think right now Jason Tatum might be more athletic than Jaylen Brown. And that might be stupid to say, but that's just what I've observed in these playoffs. And I'm going to watch a little bit more because I can't say I'm as locked into the Celtics Heat as I am to the Lakers series. But I have watched a pretty decent amount of it, and I'm going to really try to focus in on Jason Tatum moving forward here. But that's going to be hard because Bam is on the Heat, and I can't keep my eyes off that guy. I really can't. You would think that he's going to take out a restraining order by how much I look at him. I love watching Bam play. He has sort of the Jokic factor in the high post when they play through him. Defensively, he is a monster. We all saw it with that block after I think it was game 1. I can't remember right now, but that block to essentially stop Jason Tatum from dunking to win the game. So I can't guarantee that I'll watch Jason Tatum as much, but I really want to focus in on him and see how I think he can improve his game. And the thing that jumps out is I just think he's not taking advantage of his athleticism enough. I think him getting to the bucket would be, be something that really, really takes his game to the next level. So I just wanted to point that out. So that's pretty much it for the ramblings about the NBA. I hit the mic there. Sorry. I made a noise. I think I recorded the noise. I'm not really sure. Maybe it didn't. And I'm just telling you that for no reason. Either way, let's take a quick commercial break, and I'll come back and I'll give you my MVP power rankings. We'll talk about NFL picks, and then I'll give you a couple thoughts about the NFL. And it's sort of a rambling sort of fashion, but less rambling, more just quick hitters. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690 386-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices Altamont Springs.
All right, back by myself again. I don't know why you guys listen to me. This podcast, when I go solo, especially today, just feels like what is going through my brain on a daily basis. It's just me in my own head thinking about random sports stuff, and just kind of the difference is that I'm telling people what, the thoughts going in my head are, and you guys are apparently listening, so that's cool. It makes me feel a little bit more self-confident about my ability to do this, which isn't a good thing, by the way. It isn't. I'm way too overconfident in my ability to do anything. Just ask everyone I know. Ask my girlfriend. Ask the people at especially the kids I work with at my church. They know I'm way too cocky. My friends, my family. I believe in myself way too. Maybe not my family, just because everyone in my family is that way. So that's probably why I'm the way I am. That means that's usually what it means. So maybe this isn't a good thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Like I promised, we're gonna talk some football. I'll give you guys my MVP power rankings right now. I'll give you some picks. By the way, not doing so well on those last week. I'll tell you that. So again, disclaimer: I'm not good at betting. I just my perception of these games. So take that as you will. And then I teased it early on, I think in the actual opening of the show. I'm going to give you guys a UCF thought here. I haven't really done any UCF on this podcast, I think, ever. I am a UCF alumnus. Again, I don't know. The grammar stuff, man, it's in my head. It's in my freaking head. Anyway, I went to UCF. I graduated there in 2016. Yeah, 2016. I have a thought on them that it's not going to be what you want to hear, Night Nation. It really isn't. It's not. I'm apologizing beforehand. It's not what I want to hear. It's just what I think is true. So I'll put that at the very end of the podcast, just so to make sure you listen to the whole thing, or at least skip through it and have trouble finding it because you didn't want to listen to the whole thing. I don't care. You should probably listen to the whole thing. It's a good podcast. Okay. All right. Anyway, MVP power rankings right now. Let's start from 1 to 3. Actually, I'll give you my first two because I think everyone's on the same page right now when it comes to who should be the MVP after 2 weeks of the NFL season. My third one is I wouldn't say it's spicy because last week it kind of was. It was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I can tell you right now and take that tease out of the way. It's not Clyde Edwards-Helaire anymore. It's not like I don't think he had a bad week. I just don't remember what his week was, and I didn't think it was very significant, and it doesn't matter because what this player did was more important, and I think justifies going into that third spot. So we'll get to that third player last. So we'll start with number 1. And I think the answer to this question is one that we all agree upon, and that's Russell Wilson. The Let Russ Cook movement finally bullied Pete Carroll into allowing Russell Wilson to throw the ball on first and second down. It's allowing Russell Wilson to push the ball down the field progressively throughout the game, not just when they're down by 15 in the fourth, and Russell Wilson has to carry his team back into this game. So Russell Wilson, I think, is clearly the number 1 pick here. I don't think many people are going to debate that. He has 610 passing yards, 9 touchdown throws, 1 interception, and he's 2-0 against, the Falcons aren't good, but he beat a Patriots team that I think a lot of people are surprised by. So Russell Wilson hats off to you, Mr. Unlimited. If you guys don't know about that story, it's actually quite funny. That's his nickname apparently. Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited. Maybe I'm Is it Mr. Unlimited? I'm pretty sure it's Mr. Unlimited. I'm gonna Google that just to make sure. Mr. Unlimited. Russell Wilson. Yeah, it pops up on Google, so it's true. Yeah, Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson. Anyway, number 2 on the list, Aaron Rodgers. Yet another Division 1. He beats the Lions this week pretty handily. No real statements on Aaron Rodgers other than, remember, I'm the person who said he wasn't going to have a good year because I thought him and Matt LaFleur were going to get into it, and Aaron would just pout. I was wrong. Severely wrong, especially after 2 weeks. 604 passing yards, 6 touchdown passes, 0 picks, 2-0. 2-0 in the division as well, so keep that in mind. Aaron Rodgers, number 2 on the list. And number 3, can I get a drum roll, please? That was my pathetic attempt at a drum roll. I could edit a drum roll, and I'm actually pretty good at editing. I'm just lazy right now, and I won't do it. So you're going to get that drum roll. It's Josh Allen. No, not the pass rusher, the quarterback. Yeah, from Buffalo. Yeah, that one. Josh Allen has started the season really well. 2-0, both division games, granted, against the Dolphins and the Jets. But he, on the offensive end, did what he was supposed to do against both those teams. It was surprising in the Dolphins game, the defense, which is supposed to be, quote unquote, supposed to be the stalwart of this Bills team. It hasn't been. It's been Josh Allen. His numbers are insane. He went into Miami and won that game for his Bills team because his defense couldn't stop Fitzmagic. It's been a really good start. I doubt right now that he's going to maintain this sort of production and this sort of, performance throughout the NFL season, but I have to give respect when it's earned. And right now, 727 passing yards. It's second in the league right now behind Gardner Minshew, who played one extra game because it's Friday and he played the Thursday night game, so you can't really. So kind of he's in the lead for passing yards right now. He has 6 TDs and no picks, and they're 2-0. He's gone out as an offense and beaten the teams that they put in front of him. He put up 27 on the Jets, and I think he put up 30 on the. I think he put up 30. I'm pulling it up now. Put up 34 or 31 against the Dolphins. So I can't say anything to that. Josh Allen deserves this sort of credit right now, and we'll see if it continues. So hats off to you, Joshua P. Allen. I don't know if that's your middle name, but it is. It's gonna be Patrick today. Joshua Patrick Allen. You're welcome. Anyway, moving on to my NFL picks. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop doing that. That feels stupid at this point. The first time it was okay. Second time, it has crossed the line, and I apologize to you, the listener. I'm better than that. I am. I'm better than that. And I'll try to maintain my standards. Anyway, NFL picks. I am 1-3 overall. 0-3 last week. I mentioned to you guys before, my friend Ko listens to the podcast religiously, and he actually gave me a hard time for releasing the podcast a little later this week. So sorry, Ko. Love you, bro. We should, hang out. I texted you the other day to go to sushi, and you didn't want to come. So maybe you deserve this late podcast. Who knows? Anyway, I was 0-3 last week. My friend Ko, who listens to the show, said that I picked the Jaguars 2 weeks ago. I don't remember picking that one, so I'm way too lazy to go into the podcast and actually, find the part where I said my picks. So I don't know, maybe you guys can hit me up on Twitter and actually just play the clip for me specifically, or tell me which were my picks after or during for week 1. I mean, sometimes I can't speak right. Anyway, I don't care. I'm 1-3. Let's just go with that. I'm 1-3. It's not great. I don't remember if the Jaguars won in week 1, so that would put me at 2 or 3. Maybe I should look back because it makes me look better, and that's always nice for me. Anyway, so let's just stick it 1-3 overall. I was 0-3 last week. Not good. I picked the Cowboys, who came back and won. They were favored by I think like 4 or 5, and they only won by 1 or 2 points or something like that. I know I didn't win that bet. I didn't actually put money on these, so there's also that caveat. Who else did I pick? I'm gonna pull it up in my notes right now. Cowboys -4, Vikings +3, Rams. No, not Rams. Pats +3.5. I almost won that bet. I felt really good about that one for a long time in that Seahawks game. I think they lost by 4 points. So honestly, you guys should give me that one. I won't do it though, but I really wanted to. The Vikings, I feel so stupid. That's how you know you don't know anything is when you make Super Bowl picks. Unless you go with just like the surefire, like, oh yeah, it's going to be the Chiefs versus the Saints. You know, like the real just like stalwart picks. And if you try to take any risk when you make a Super Bowl pick, you just fall flat on your face. At least I do every single time. I remember a couple years ago I picked the Chargers versus the Rams in Battle LA. The Chargers sucked that season. The Rams did make it to the Super Bowl though. So, half right. Maybe I'll be half right again. I picked the Vikings and the Ravens. And the Ravens are good. The Vikings are not. Anyway, 1-3 last week. This week, I got the Bills -2 against the Rams. So, Bills at home. Josh Allen, like I've mentioned, has been playing lights out. That Dolphins defense, they spent money on him. They have good corners. So, it's not like Jalen Ramsey's going to walk in here and be the best cornerback that, or at least the only good cornerback that the Bills have played this season so far. I think the combination of the two corners, the cornerbacks in Byron Jones and Xavier Howard for the Dolphins are very formidable, and mimic one great corner. I don't know what the answer to that question is, but I do know that I'm taking the Bills -2 at home versus a good Rams team. The question is going to be how dominant will Aaron Donald be? Because it's not if you can stop Aaron Donald or if you can slow him down a bit. It's how dominant will he be? Will he just completely wreck the game and not let Josh Allen just throw any footballs? Or will it be one of these things where they could squeeze out a win? And looking on the flip side, I think the Bills defense at home is going to have to rebound against a good Rams offense. I'm not there yet with the Rams offense, and I think the Bills defense is still one of the best in the NFL. So I'm going to go with the Bills -2 at home. Next up, I picked 5 games, by the way, guys. 5 games. I'm thinking the more games I pick, the more chances I have to be right. I'm just a half full kind of guy, glass half full kind of guy. I understand that the more games I pick, the more games I could probably be wrong about. But I'm going to ignore that and be confident. Texans +4 against the Steelers. They're a 4-point dog on the road in Pittsburgh. I just think the Texans are too good of a football team to be 0-3. It's as simple as that. Like, I really don't have any other reasoning other than I think Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger, and they're getting points. So I'm going to go with the better quarterback with points. That's my reasoning there. I have no other reasoning. And I think this team is too good to be 0-3. So I'm gonna go with the Texans there. And they've had really tough matchups. Like, granted, the Steelers defense is probably the best defense they're gonna play all season. I get the Ravens defense is really good. The Steelers defense is better. Even though their corners aren't, their pass rush is. And so I look at that and I think, well, Deshaun Watson's really good mobily. If he can get away from the rush and their corners aren't as good as the Ravens' corners, maybe he can put up enough points to beat a Steelers team that offensively I'm not convinced yet. I'm not there yet. I think they can be good because it's Big Ben, and he's done really good things. I'm just not there yet with that offense. So I'm going to go with the Texans +4, better quarterback, getting points. Give me them. Chargers. -6.5 at home versus the Panthers, right? So the Panthers are down Christian McCaffrey. They're going all the way across the country to go to the Chargers, who are going to have all their fans there because they don't have any fans and no fans are allowed. Haha, that was the Chargers don't have fans joke. Anyway, Justin Herbert's going to start. He played really well last week versus a good Kansas City team, and I think you can blame Anthony Lynn for that loss more than you can Justin Herbert. Like, I don't think Justin Herbert he played well. And I think he's going to play well this season. if he keeps starting, which I don't know if that's the case. I haven't read up much on the Tyrod thing other than the fact that he has a punctured lung because his doctor put the needle into his rib too much. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it that much. But the Chargers are 6.5-point favorites at home. Rookie quarterback against a defense that doesn't scare me. Against an offense that doesn't scare me. Keenan Allen is going to eat up. He's going to eat up those corners. I don't even know who their corners are. Is James Bradbury even? No, I think James Bradbury went to the Giants. I don't think they have a cornerback. I know his name. That's how bad this defense is going to play. They don't have the pass rush. They don't have the cornerback depth. Chargers are at home. I get it's 6.5 for a rookie quarterback, but still, like I'd rather have a rookie quarterback with Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram trying to kill Teddy Bridgewater. Like that offense, other than McCaffrey, like I get it. DJ Moore's okay. Like some people like Robbie Anderson. I don't know. The offense doesn't scare me against the good defense. The good offense versus a bad defense. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. Chargers 6.5. I think that one's gonna be pretty easy. Packers getting 3 on the road against the Saints. The Saints at home are phenomenal. Everyone knows that. I don't know if they're allowing some fans in New Orleans, but I do know that Drew Brees hasn't looked great early on. Mike Thomas is questionable. And Aaron Rodgers and his Packers team have been probably the second best team in the NFL behind the, maybe not the second, but like one of the best teams in the NFL. Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers with points. Like, you're giving me points. I get it. They're on the road. I get it. They're going to New Orleans, but I think the Packers are a better football team. They have the better quarterback. Give me the better quarterback with points. I said that before. And that leads me to the Monday night game. It's the game everyone wants to watch, right? The Chiefs at the Ravens. I'm a Ravens fan. So it hurts me to say that if I would bet on this game, I'm not going to because I don't like betting, but I do like talking about betting. And I think the Chiefs are the pick here. Plus 3.5. They're a road underdog. 3.5 to the Ravens. They're going to M&T Bank Stadium. It's the name of the stadium in Baltimore. This one's hard. Okay. So the reason I'm going with the Chiefs is strictly to the fact that the way you beat this Ravens team is by, again, this is going to sound just based on last season, and that's the most of the evidence I have because this season hasn't shown me, when we do go down, when the Ravens go down by a couple scores, what's going to happen? How is Lamar going to respond? I can assume based on some of the stuff I've seen early on that they're going to throw the ball down the field more aggressively, and that's promising, but I still haven't seen it. I think more times than not, Patrick Mahomes will score more touchdowns than you. And that seems like a really oversimplistic way to view it. But if Patrick Mahomes goes up 2 scores, which I think is insanely possible, especially early on, then I have doubts or I have thoughts or I'm not positive that the Ravens can put up enough points to get back into the game if they know they're not going to run the ball, every other play. And better quarterback points. Give me the Chiefs. It hurts to say. It does, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs plus 3.5. And those are the picks. I'm going to go Bills -2, Texans +4, Chargers -6.5, Packers +3, Chiefs +3.5. I'm 1-3 overall. Hopefully this gets me to 6-3 overall. We'll find out. It's probably not going to happen. Who knows though? But without further ado, the inaugural UCF segment on the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast that's going to piss a lot of people off. Not because I want this to happen. Again, I'm going to make this very clear. I don't want this to happen. I don't think this should happen. I'm not arguing for it. I'm simply reading the tea leaves and letting you know what I think is going to happen or could happen if this scenario occurs, right? So the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, don't want to forget the little guys, are going to play football this fall. And The first thought that comes to mind as a UCF fan, as a guy who's going to look through his bias and in his sports lens, that first thought that pops into my mind is the question, will an undefeated 10-0 UCF football team be left out of the playoff again? I guess before we were 12-0. But will that undefeated UCF football team be left out of the playoff for a one-loss Pac-12 or Big Ten champion? The instance that pops into my head, the team that pops into my head is Ohio State, specifically. With Ohio State, the answer is yes. They would. The College Football Playoff Committee would pick a 7-1 Ohio State team, probably a 7-1 Michigan team, probably a 7-1 Penn State team. I'm not as positive about the Pac-12, but I'm going to go ahead and throw in a USC and a Washington, for example. I think the committee would pick a one-loss Washington, USC, Michigan, Ohio State team over a 10-0 American football or American Athletic Conference champion UCF team to make the college football playoff. And this is just all based on history. The CFP committee has consistently put UCF a rung below the other teams in the country. And I think that's going to happen another time. I think that's going to happen for a while now. Like, not just one more time. I think it might happen for a little while longer. I think UCF is going to have to string in, maybe another 2 or 3 seasons before they're really taken seriously. You start to see the media start to take them seriously now, especially early on in the season. That needs to hold true for another, I think, 3 years. Maybe by Dylan's senior year, hopefully. Dylan Gabriel. I love Dylan Gabriel. I went on a whole tangent about him watching the Georgia Tech game with my little cousin David. Little cousin, he's like 21 and 6'2", and taller than me, and probably could beat me up, but don't tell him that. I went on a whole tangent about how much I love Dylan. Anyway, I really think this UCF program needs to do this consistently for maybe 10 years. And if you really start from the Fiesta Bowl, win against Baylor, I think it was in 2014 or 2013. I can't remember right now. I think it needs to go all the way to like 2023 of just us being multiple time. And I don't know if that's going to actually change anything, but I just know that the CFP is going to consistently put UCF a rung below the other one of those squads. And I don't know what's going to fix that. I do know the answer is going to the Big 12 or the ACC and other, Power 5 conference and actually keep doing this. But until we get the chance to do that, we have to kind of deal with the situation that's in front of us. And the situation right now is that the College Football Playoff Committee anyway, has a clear built-in excuse in Corona. You can just imagine them saying, I don't know who the commissioner is. Is it that Jeff Longfellow? I don't know. I don't remember who it is. Kirby Holcomb? That's a person, right? Holcutt? I don't know. Doesn't matter. What does matter, I can see one of those old white dudes sauntering onto the college football game day set or doing their hit from their home and uttering the words, we can't blame Ohio State for a global pandemic. The eye test tells us that Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Washington are better than UCF, even though they played 2 less games and lost one of those 8 games that they played. That's what I think is going to happen. It's sucky. It's a sucky thought. It really is. Like, I want UCF in the college football playoff. And when these 2 conferences weren't going to play, I really thought there was a chance it could happen. I don't anymore. It's a just like you thought, but it's true.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Fagley reminding you to tune in every Tuesday night, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app for Knightline at Night. Brought to you by Chad Bar Law. We'll be taking your calls and your texts reacting to the previous week's UCF sports action, and you never know who will show up. Once again, that's Knightline at Night, every Tuesday, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app. Go Knights and charge on.
Hey, thanks for hanging in there. This is the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast exclusively on the Knightline Sports Network. You listened to my voice for like an hour. Proud of you. I really am. I don't know if I'm concerned about myself that I can talk that long without really interacting with another human being. That says a lot about me as a person. And it might be a bit concerning. I might need to see somebody. But don't we all? Anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, I can figure out my scheduling stuff so I can actually put the podcast out on Friday morning instead of Friday evening or Saturday morning. I'm not sure when this is exactly going to drop. But I appreciate you guys listening and supporting the podcast. The numbers have been great ever since the move to Knightline. So I'm really excited about that. Next week, I'm going to try to get Andrew Fagley to talk to me about college football. So that is going to be fun. Me and Andrew have been texting back and forth trying to figure out the scheduling part of that. Mainly me. I need to figure out the scheduling part of that because Andrew's a very nice guy and very open to coming on the pod. I just have to figure out my scheduling stuff because, like I've mentioned to you before, master's program, work, girlfriend, church, all the stuff I have to balance right now. And sometimes it leads to me putting a podcast out a day later. Sometimes it'll lead to me not doing a podcast at all. Hopefully we can avoid that, and I'm going to try really hard to do that. But next week, we're going to try to get Andrew on and talk some college football and appease the masses here on the Knightline Sports Network and talk some UCF and talk some college football and not European soccer or NBA playoffs. We might do both next week because there's a chance. I'm not really sure what the schedule looks like exactly for the NBA playoffs, but there's a chance that the NBA finals may start or at least be, determined. So I'll definitely want to preview that. I'll probably try to get Louis Artisan on and talk about the Lakers. I'll reach out to Keith Smith if the Celtics get through. I'm not sure who I would talk to about the Miami Heat. And I'm not even pretending that the Denver Nuggets are going to come back from a 3-1 deficit again for the third time in a row. I really suck. Anyway, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. Peace.